Mothership causes blackout in Greece. Areas of Athens without electricity. This is fantasy content with elements of creative writing. August 22nd, 2018. Many areas of Athens were without electricity. Almost half of Attica was left in the dark in an unprecedented blackout that lasted several hours, according to ephemerida.gr. The island of Hydra was also left without electricity from 5:30 in the morning of August 26, 2018, when a blackout was caused on the island. In addition, residents and tourists were left without water as the island's water supply was not working, since it's done with pumping stations that operate with electricity, as we are informed by protothema.gr. And then on August 28th, 2018, the area of the island of Skopelos seems to be facing serious electricity problems, according to Δικαιολογητικά. On the same day in Lesbos, Mytilene, the television broadcast reports a power failure occurred at the PPC substation, with a blackout spreading throughout the island. And on the same day, as we read on Protothema newspaper, it was the turn for the island of Tinos. So the desalination units could not operate because they had no electricity, with the result that, just like in the island of Hydra, Tinos was left without water for hours. Power outages lasted several hours over a large area, sometimes even in 100% of entire municipalities and prefectures. They all happened around the same time frame. Anyone can find the possible reasons in the above links or wherever else they wish. However, I came up with a story about what could have happened if a mothership of extraterrestrial origin sailed over the airspace of Greece and the planet in general. A returning waves blackout brings mothership. Something very strange and mysterious seems to be manifesting itself in Greece, and especially on the islands of Greece, in the Aegean Sea, for example, in the last period of time. It could be a series of random events, a series of coincidences, but there are too many to be coincidences. In fact, first of all, US, Russia, Chinese, and Japanese Army, Navy, and Air Force radars started showing something huge approaching from the east. Even space weather indicated that the Earth's magnetic field was falling, victim to the G3 class geomagnetic storm, with tendencies to become a G4 class, which very suddenly and unpredictably arrived at Earth after a solar flare, but there was no solar flare. Officials, technicians, everyone around the radar began working feverishly to ascertain what was going on, while at the same time informing governments and talking to allied nations to see what was happening in their countries. It was a huge object, about 500 kilometers in diameter, descending towards the surface of the Earth, scattering blackouts everywhere it went. Entire cities were plunged into darkness, one after the other. Eastern countries, Turkey, Northern Africa, Greece, Italy, gradually the entire northern temperate zone. Some have referred to the reverberation effect, as can be the case with successive plane crashes, train collisions, etc. Also read why, when one plane crashed, a second and third crashed in a short time. No civilian or anyone else could see what was reflected on the radars, around symmetrical like a magnifying glass, several kilometers thick in its center, a disk, a flying saucer that could fit almost the whole of Greece and its islands. Whether it was a day or night where the blackout took place, no one could see the flying disk. However, wherever it passed, a series of explosions at power stations or serious power failures followed. However, that was not the only thing that was most alarming. Perhaps it was to be expected to some extent when a mothership is flying high in the clouds at a relatively slow speed. The paradox was something else. All along the route of the mothership, thousands of people affected by the course of the flight began to think strange thoughts. They were drilling strange ideas into their heads, not knowing why. Many of them were heretical in their beliefs, many were climbing. They did not know how and why they were thinking so strangely. Perhaps the sudden darkness from the blackout in their areas had affected them. However, it was a completely different event. The strange thoughts looked like images from humorous internet memes, but were filled with information and or references that took or could take chaotic proportions. Some of them were, quote, "Science and technology should provide rest and creativity," end quote. Another thought was people should take care of their mental health in balance with their physical health, end quote. Another thought was the greatest triumphs of benefactors occur when men love that which they oppose, end quote. An additional image that accompanied almost every thought was a beautifully and attractively decorated, soft and comfortable bed with delightful soft coverings. But for anyone who lay quiet and unconcerned about what was offered him aside, in a corner lurked Procrustes. That's the ancient mythological figure that would cut the person's body to fit the small bed, ready to cut away what was left or to stretch the recumbent in order to achieve equality with the bed and all who survived after it. When the mothership passed, moved away, and its influence diminished until it ceased to exist, most humans returned to their old everyday thoughts of their ruin. There were not a few, however, who wanted to look for it and open some books whose contents were food or thought. Apart from the obvious damage caused by the mothership upon entering our planet, nothing else happened. The vast majority of Earth's population never saw this craft or part of it. No one ever understood where these strange thoughts came from. However, for politicians and officials of various governments briefed on the incidents, things were different. They knew what was causing the blackouts and strange thoughts, but they could not agree on whether the mothership was hostile or friendly, but mostly they could not tell if the strange images in the minds of millions of people were meant to elicit a reaction or a feedback. And this is from a Greek article I've read for you. Fantasy, of course. Please leave your comments. Thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.